have an engineering manager or a technical architect or a tech lead or a tech manager in your organization, do you know what they are responsible for? And more importantly, how engineering managers and product managers coexist in a team to build a successful product? I'm going to talk about that in today's video, so stay tuned. Hey guys, my name is Rubab Sharma. I am a senior product manager and I have around 12 years of work experience as of 2022, which means I worked on multiple products/projects and with multiple engineering managers / tech leads, tech managers. So if you want to know more about me on this channel, look out for the introduction video above. Otherwise, let's get right into today's video. So the topic for today is relationship between engineering manager and product manager. Why is it important for a successful product? Firstly, let's understand what role does an engineering manager play in building out the products, and then let's understand why the relationship of an engineering manager and a product manager is really important for the success of the product as a whole. Now, starting off with who is an engineering manager. Now, based on my experience, these are the two things that an engineering manager should definitely possess. First one, making decisions on how should the product be built. Second is mentoring the engineers within the team. Now, first, starting off with the first one, making decisions on how the product should be built. Now, I am not saying the engineering manager has to decide everything. Important thing here is they have to work collaboratively with the engineers on their team and make these decisions collectively. What language to use, what technology to use, what tools to use, what are the best practices for development and stuff like that. So that is what engineering manager alongside the engineers have to decide and build out the product in the most effective way. Now, they do not necessarily need to code, but they should know how to code, because that is how they will be able to train the new engineers in the team or the ones who are not well versed with a certain technology. So that's a really important factor as well. Now, the second one is mentoring the engineers on the team. Now, this is not a traditional manager role. The engineering manager needs to allow engineers to make the decisions for themselves. Engineering managers just needs to aid them with all the information so that the engineers are self-sufficient and they are making the decisions by themselves. That's why the role of a mentor is very important. So the term mentor or mentorship, this is a very loosely used term. So that's why be very cautious when you consider yourself as a mentor or when you think that someone else is a mentor to you. Mentorship doesn't mean a traditional mentorship wherein you are just passing on the information from top to down. It means empowering the other person to be able to make decisions and providing all the help, all the information to them so that they have that power within them to make the decisions by themselves. So these are the two things which, in my opinion, engineering managers should definitely be doing within a product organization. So now that we know what an engineering manager does, let's see how they collaborate with product managers on the team to build out a successful product. Now, I have done a video before this talking about what a product manager does on a daily, on a bi-weekly, monthly basis. So I would recommend checking that out in case you do not know what a product manager does. So that's going to be a really helpful resource. Otherwise, let's see how product managers and engineering managers collaborate within a team. Now, if I were to summarize that, a product manager should know why the product is being built, what problem is the product solving and for whom. And in addition to that, they should also know a little bit of how the product is going to be built. Now, let's take a pause here and let's understand what I mean by that, because we've read online a lot of times that a product manager should know why and what to build, whereas engineering manager should know how it should be built, which I think is partially true. I don't think that statement is 100% true. So let's discuss that, because it's very important aspect of a relationship between a product manager and an engineering manager. Now let's take an example, because I love examples. So say you want to build a product similar to Uber or Lyft, like a mobility application wherein a person can go from one place to another by booking a ride on the product or the application. So the product manager has researched why the application needs to be built. They know who is it going to be built for. They've researched what pain points are those user facing and why is there a need for building another application when there already are a lot of similar applications available. So the product manager has done all that research. They know who is it going to be built for and why it needs to be built. Now let's see how a product manager is going to decide how it needs to be built. So a product manager at this stage, after their research research, they have in their mind, they have the list of features which wants to be built. They want a product to have a feature to show ability for a person to punch in where they want to go, like ability to punch in what their destination is, ability to show what are the nearest cabs available or nearest vehicles available, ability to show whether it's a two-wheeler available or a four-wheeler available, and then which models within those two-wheelers and four-wheelers available. Then ability for a person to make a payment so that they can go to that destination by taking a ride. So they have in mind that these are all the features that I want to build on the product. Now, a product manager usually also thinks about, before I go ahead and build this whole big product, they usually think about building an MVP, minimum viable product. So that's where a product manager will think how the product needs to be built. Like, what is the feature that should definitely be there on the product? Like, ability for users to log in by, either punching in their mobile numbers or by SSO or whatever. That ability needs to be there. So after that, a minimum viable product should definitely have a feature for a user to punch in the destination and then make a payment and then, be finally able to book a ride end to end. Then, a feature wherein estimated time taken. So that probably might not be part of MVP. Maybe because we can build it in the second iteration. So you see, at this point, the product manager has thought for like the whole product that I want to build. I want to build those 20 features, but out of these, maybe only 6 or 7 are what should ideally be part of my MVP. So they have already decided how I want to build this particular product. Now let's go a layer deeper into it. Now, when they pick up one feature, say wherein they are able to put in their destination, and then they are able to see Google Map or whatever map you are using. So they're able to see that map. Now for there, they are going to decide what does the user interface look like. Should it be when they are typing in the destination, should the it should automatically be picked up based on the user's current location, or do they necessarily have to type in the location? Should it be type, as and when they type the alphabet, should be that search box or that text box, should it populate automatically based on what the user has typed, or we should let the user type it and then hit enter? And when the map is shown, where should the map be shown? Should it be like the whole screen? Should it be the 70% of the page, or should it be like maybe a smaller one? So you see, the product manager at this stage has also decided how the product is going to get built, right? What the user experience of the product should look like. Now, in fact, when we are talking about the user experience, this is where the designers will also pitch in. So that statement, which you might have heard a lot of times, that engineering manager is the one who decides how the product should get built, is not accurate, because there are product managers in the team and there are product designers in the team who have a say in how the product should get built. Now let's look at how engineering managers contribute to that how of building a feature. Now, taking it one layer below, after user experience. Now, when it comes to a point and deciding what technology do we use, what's the front end technology, what's the back end technology, how are we going to make sure that the product is performant and it is also security compliant, how are we going to make sure where are we storing the user's information so that there are no PII concerns, what is the database schema going to look like, what are all the tables that we need. So all these sort of decisions, technical decisions of how are going to be decided by engineering managers and the engineering team. Now I'm going to pause here and say that if at all by now you've liked what I have said and you can relate to this, definitely do not forget to hit like and subscribe, as it will help me and my channel grow. Alright, so by now we've discussed what an engineering manager should ideally do in a product team or a product organization, and then we've discussed that famous statement of who, what and how. We've discussed what role product managers play and what role engineering managers play. Now let's talk about the relationship between product manager and engineering manager. Now, to explain that better, I'm going to take like a whole product life cycle and explain what are the things which happen at each stage of product life cycle, so that it's easier to relate on each stage who does what and how do they have to collaborate. Now the stage 1 of the product life cycle is the inception or the research phase. So this is a stage wherein the product manager is primarily doing the research on what does the target market look like, what are the user pain points, what's the ideal customer profile, what is the competitive landscape. So 80% of work over here is done by, or maybe even 90% of the work over here at this stage is done by product managers. But I think it's also important for engineering managers to step in at this point and probably provide their point of view for this research. So that 10% I think should definitely be dedicated for engineering managers, because engineering managers, they have also worked on this particular product before and they know what customers think of, so they have their own point of view. So I think at this inception phase itself, that say should also be given to the engineering manager. I think it's going to be really helpful because they are the ones who are making technology decisions, and a lot of times those technology decisions are also based on the user behavior. So I am 100% sure that engineering manager's point of view at this stage is going to be really helpful. Now the stage 2 of product life cycle is requirements. Now after the inception or the research phase, this is where again the product manager, they would be creating like a requirements document. Every company has their own format of requirements document, whatever that is, be it in Jira, wherever. So those requirements documents, whenever those requirements are documented, a product manager, they could have like a wish list, like they want to build everything, right? So engineering managers at this point would definitely chime in and provide like high level estimate, like a t-shirt sizing estimate. We are not talking about number of sprints and number of days and hours it's going to take to develop those features. We are talking about like a higher level estimate or t-shirt size estimate on how much time is it going to take if we build this feature, this feature, this feature. So that perspective from an engineering manager in this requirements phase is going to be really helpful, so that the product manager is also realistically aware of which features are going to take a lot of time to build, which features are going to take a lesser amount of time to build. So that collaboration at this requirement phase is going to be really helpful. Now stage 3 of the product life cycle is implementation. Now inception has happened, research has happened, the requirements have been documented. Now in the implementation or the execution phase, engineering manager is going to play a huge role, because the product is going to be built by engineers and engineering manager is going to be working with the engineers. So this is where 80% of work is going to be done by the engineering managers. Product managers at this stage are working very closely with the engineers in the team, with the engineering manager, to make sure whatever product was envisioned in the first 2 steps, that is what is actually getting built. So any questions that the team might have while executing, that is what the product manager needs to be available to answer. So that closer collaboration is going to be a key here at the execution phase as well. Now the stage 4 of a product life cycle is maintenance, which is the last stage. Once the product is built and it's live, now product manager is working on collecting the customer feedback. They are keeping an eye on the product usage metrics and stuff like that. Engineering manager on the other hand, they are keeping an eye on their own application monitors. Is the application performing well? Are there any issues that the users are facing, or is the application getting stuck? Stuff like that. So engineering managers along with the engineers are going to make sure that that sort of monitoring is happening after the product is live as well. So even in this stage, the collaboration is going to be really helpful. So the engineering manager should definitely inform the product manager in case there are sort of delays or lags, or there are performance issues on the back end being faced by the users. Similarly, the product managers should definitely keep the engineers and the engineering manager informed on what's the feedback that customers are giving for the product and how do we take that feedback and action on it and go forward. So that collaboration, close collaboration, is also going to be helpful at this stage. Now by this point, it's quite evident that a product manager and engineering manager needs to work very closely and collaboratively with each other to make sure that the product that they are building is a successful product. So what I personally do is I have a one-on-one connect with the engineering manager every 2 weeks. I think that one-on-one connect is very important. So both the parties, engineering manager and the product manager, they can utilize this time to build their personal relationship. This time could be utilized for a product manager to understand a little bit more technicalities of the product, or this time can be utilized by engineering manager to understand the business needs and the customer needs and stuff like that. That would definitely be really helpful in this one-on-one meeting. Or in scenarios wherein, since engineering managers they are working very closely with engineers, they are mentoring them. So if there are some interpersonal issues or something like that happening within the team, so this is a good opportunity for engineering manager to raise them with the product manager, so that maybe the engineers are not feeling very confident in the vision of the product, as an example, or they are not feeling very empowered or do not have a lot of information about the product. So those sort of issues can also be discussed one-on-one with the engineering manager, so that they are addressed. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants that the product team working on building the product, they are all working very closely, they have a very good working relationship, because that is how a product is going to be successful out in the hands of customers as well. Alright, so I hope this has benefited you one way or the other. Either you are an engineering manager or a product manager. So I hope I have done justice to explaining why it's important for an engineering manager to have a very cordial relationship with product manager, and vice versa. If you think I've missed out on anything, if there are any best practices that you follow and you found them really helpful, definitely let me know via comment section. And needless to say, do not forget to hit like and subscribe. Until then, see you all next week. Bye bye.